Nathan, we've kicked this around quite a bit, trying to put ourselves in the brains of the people who develop the show. And it's a lot harder than it seems, because I think if you actually know this story and know these characters, you cannot really reconcile with what you've seen on the screen. One of the characters that I think is important to Robert Jordan's story, but which is completely misrepresented in the show, is NYNAEVE AL'MEARA. What do you think they're going to do with super magical ninja, love 'em and leave 'em, bestest Aes Sedai? She's probably this show's Dragon Reborn NYNAEVE.
Anybody's guess is as good as mine, because the show has proven itself to be such an unreliable narrator. Things change even within their own telling of the wheel that they like to proclaim.
Considering what we got in season 1, where she can do the Bob Marley Rasta bright light explosion,
Okay.
She can magically heal her future booty call Showland.
Oh, and you forgot about her abilities to shield everybody from Mach and Shin.
Oh, that's true. She also did fight in the shitty looking ways, and somehow in untrained wisdom or medicine woman from Two Rivers can now just magically do what no one else can do, including the Aes Sedai there, Rosamund Pike. What do you think she's going to go see through the arches? We know that one of them was about land. We know the other one was about going back to EMOND'S Field and being replaced. Like, what do we think
they're gonna cut it down to one. It's too long in the books, probably, for their taste. She's gonna get trained up with weapons for whatever stupid reason that is.
Do you think it's going to be NYNAEVE who steals Rand's big scene where he becomes a sword master? That it's actually going to be NYNAEVE who kills Turok?
That makes a lot of sense. Which means it's inevitably wrong, but
oh no. I mean,
right.
I'm actually probably giving Rafe Judkins and Amanda Schumann and the writers of the show too much credit for even thinking about that, including these characters.
The only thing that we do know is that if it's in the book, it's very unlikely that it's going to come into the show in an unchanged manner.
Right. Because even Brandon Sanderson said it, and I'm going to beat this horse a million times because I think Brandon Sanderson was being over nice because he was an executive producer on this show. He said, and I quote, "To me, it's not an adaptation of the books. It's the story of the next time the turning of the wheel happens," which means that it has nothing to do with what Robert Jordan wrote.
We know for a fact, based upon the letters that were produced by Chuck Dixon at the end of the graphic novel of A New Spring, how difficult it was to work with Robert Jordan his exacting adaptation of his work. We absolutely know, just like we know with Tolkien, that Robert Jordan would not like what they are doing.
Not at all. He didn't like the fact that Dixon drew an Aes Sedai in pants. He's like, no, they have to look young. No, they have to look feminine. No, they have to be in dresses. So all of this postmodern intersectional bullshit is totally, I think, again, they're fixing Robert Jordan.
With NYNAEVE being as manly as she is in doing the things that she does in the show, which is completely opposite of her character, her demure.
Small town, prim and proper. We saw that show NYNAEVE, knock boots with Lan. And then, of course, in a reversal of what happened in the books, because Lan was the one who said, "I can't be with you," when NYNAEVE fell in love with him very early in the books. And he wanted to spare her the pain of losing him because of what he did as a warder. The show had to fix this. And basically, NYNAEVE is a 21st century girl who has sex with whoever she wants with. And then she's done with them. And she doesn't have time for no man because she has her career as a Aes Sedai. Based upon that, we've heard rumors that there potentially could be a love triangle between Lan, NYNAEVE, and Moiraine, which I don't think the show would ever do, because they've already said Moiraine is a lesbian, which of course is not at all the character that she is in the books. But what do you think about that rumor?
I would not be surprised if they go ahead with that, because she is now cast out of Tar Valon. Even though she dedicated herself to Swan Sanche, they have such vacillating moral codes that her going out and trying to accomplish whatever perceived mission she has for that particular episode will give her free rein to do whatever she wants, because you've got the spycraft, and spies go and sleep with multiple people to accomplish their missions, and that makes it okay. So if she has this unrequited love for Lan all of a sudden that they did not really express in the first season, and then also gets a hate boner for Nynaeve, then sure, why not? Because it's hitting more inclusionary statistics for them. But what it does do is it destroys the book character of Moiraine even more than they've already done, which is kind of an interesting thing to be able to sit there and say.
It's true.
But you can still do it by doing something like this, because it eliminates the loyalty that Moiraine had towards the light, towards Lan, towards her goals, her missions. It completely destroys all of that.
There's a scene in The Great Hunt in Chapter 8, and this is where Rand al'Thor basically has been proctored or mentored by Lan, who Lan specifically in the book says, don't let the tower use you. This is how you stand up to these women who are going to manipulate you and don't have your best interests at heart. That is something that this show and its intersectional feminist message would never allow. So I have predict that this scene is going to be given to Nynaeve. Do you think that instead of like what should happen in The Great Hunt, where Rand stands up for himself, that's going to be Nynaeve, or do you think they're even going to cover that at all?
I would hedge my bets to say that they're not going to cover it at all, because I just have trouble finding Lan and Moiraine back at Tar Valon.
Well, that's another thing that they screwed up from writing the season one the way that they did. Is that scene that we're talking about included Moiraine conspiring with Swan Sanche, where a lot of the story is revealed that you understand that they're conspiring together, and you understand the seriousness of what's going on with Rand and the danger of the Dragon Reborn. That is something that they completely wrote themselves into a place where they could not even cover.
I mean, really, in all honesty, I mean, you get that revelation really at the beginning of The Great Hunt, when Moiraine and Swan finally meet together in secret, because she sends out the Keeper of the Chronicles in a kind of a surprise move.
Well, there was never, and it was like in any way was it ever intimated that there was a sexual relationship between between these characters in the books. You cannot find something like that.
There is a reference.
I know, the pillow friends thing,
Yeah, in the prequel book. But that's the only spot is in the prequel book. And the implication is that it's completely, after that, platonic between the two of them, because now they're integrated back into a world with men. And, well, they like the D.
Yeah. As far as Nynaeve goes, we have seen Nynaeve with a sword battling what I perceive it to be Galad and Gawain in the warder training area. Now, the scene, this happens only, it is Matt who stands up to Galad and Gawain, who are basically talking trash. It is not a sword fight. It is a battle with quarterstaff, which, again, Matt was trained by his father, who was a good family man, how to use the quarterstaff, and Matt is exceptional at it as well, which is very important because it builds the character of Matt because of the things that happened in later books. Okay? Yeah. Do you believe that they're going to give that scene to Nynaeve, or they're going to give it to this new mopey crying all the time Matt?
If Matt still is at Tar Valon, if he went back to Tar Valon, which would be a break from character, by the way, but if he went back to Tar Valon from the Waygate that they went to, then it's possible that they still may give that to Matt. Or it could be that Matt can draw inspiration from Nynaeve watching Nynaeve do what she does,
Oh.
and he may still get it, but only after being shown how to do it by Nynaeve after he fails.
So they could score bonus intersectional points by having a female BIPOC
Right.
who has no formal sword training at all.
What that would essentially do is they would sit there and present the audience with here's the bone that we're gonna present to you, and say, hey, this scene's coming up. The scene that you want is coming up, and then they're gonna snatch the rug out right from under you and say, nope, we're not doing that. It's gonna be girl power.
I have another theory, and that is the at the end of the Great Hunt, there is a big fight that actually occurs between Rand and Balsamon in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fight is going to be Nynaeve. What do you think about that?
I don't think that fight's gonna happen.
Really? Okay.
I don't. At the very least, it's not going to be in the air, considering what they did by eliminating the two Forsaken at the end of Eye of the World, and basically Rand holding a nightlight out and blowing Balsamon away in slow motion.
They just call him the Dark One. It's a guy who
Right.
looks like a used car salesman.
Regardless, it's a different character. The events are 100% different. To sit there and say that this entire battle occurs in a dream and is completely separated from what happens at Tarwin's Gap is completely asinine. So I think when they get to this culminative battle at the end of the Great Hunt, they will have small, secured fight scenes that occur in tightly contained spaces within buildings.
You can see that in a lot of the bullshit show images. There's a lot of fighting. We see the white cloaks that are out in the desert besieging a town, apparently. God knows what this town is. Is it Falme?
Yeah.
Whatever.
It's going to be with whoever is called the Dragon Reborn at the end of the season.
Okay.
So if they're gonna sit there and start revealing a second head to the dragon, then it's whoever that second head is. But if they've only got one and it's still going to be Rand, there's going to be something there between the two of them, but it'll be something extremely stupid and low cost from a CG point of view, to where it'll be the equivalent of like having a breakdance fight.
In this show, it's all about unearned valor, unearned titles, unearned greatness,
track record.
Yeah,
it's such a fair thing to extrapolate, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. But at the same time, who cares if we're wrong?
No,
the fact of the matter is, the one thing that we're right in is that it's not going to be Robert Jordan's work.
No. So here's the thing: it's not even a 50% adaptation. You can't even sit there. This is half the story. It is literally only the names of characters in a book that then went through a corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion intersectional feminist corporate playbook, and then wrote a story to hit the objectives of that, just taking the names of the characters. Here we are. And I think this is also the reason why Amazon has never released the actual viewing figures for this show. You know, what I do look forward to is the camaraderie of all of us. You know, you and I and Prophet of the Dragon and Corporeal Life Form, the White Cloaks boys, you know, and anyone else that we pick up, Daniel, that talk about this show. I don't actually like watching things that I hate, but I will defend the things that I love. And this is one of the things that I love.
Well, and that's the wonderful thing about this, is like we're all going to gather together. People will call it hate watching. We're not going to enjoy watching the show, but we're going to enjoy one another and hanging out with each other while we process this whole
and talk about what the show should have been and the scenes should have been, because those scenes are not damaged by what Amazon does to the show. Just because you take a name doesn't mean that you're actually doing the books. You know, Robert Jordan's books, while not as big as Tolkien, I think it has a very equally passionate fan base. And also, we don't see a lot of big channels in this sphere that read these books that are out defending it. So we're going to do our best to do our little guerrilla band of trying to save and trying to protect the legacy of these books.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tolkien his works have been out for near 100 years.
Yeah, 30,
Robert
32.
Jordan's works have only been out for 30,
Since
you
I
know,
was a freshman
35,
in college.
you know.
That's when the first book came out.
Even when Lord of the Rings was first released, it took 10 to 15 years for it to really take off.
Yeah,
And so when it finally did, Robert Jordan was just going to Vietnam.
it's true. It's true. Nathan, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Everybody out there, please check in the description. I'm going to put Nathan Amanda Manethron's channel in here. Give him a sub. He makes good stuff. Please let us know what you think this show is going to do with Robert Jordan's character of Nynaeve, or just tell us what it is that you hate that they've done. Everybody, you have a good day. Take care.